Okay, so for this episode of We Collect Shit, we're going to be focusing on an odd kind of topic that we often talk about and discuss when we're shopping at used game shops. Surprisingly rare games.
Yeah.
Games that are either surprisingly valuable and rare, or games that are just very hard to find in general. So they might not be valuable,
unexpected.
But unexpectedly, like, I can't find this game.
Yeah.
Alright, the first game I got on my list here, Futurama. It came out on both the Xbox and the PS2 in 2003. The studio who developed it is Unique Development Studios.
Is this the only Futurama game ever made? I'm gonna look that up. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never heard of
yeah, there's a million Simpsons titles.
When working with
Matt Groening or whatever, or Fox or whatever. You'd think Fox Interactive would have had a field day with that title or that property.
It's strange that seems to be only this one Futurama game. So this may be your only chance to ever
play a
Futurama video game.
Okay, so a bit of background on the game. It's a shooter and platformer hybrid, which is a way of saying it's a really just meh 3D platformer basic shooter. There's not much to it. It got really meh, average reviews.
So no one really thought it was great or anything?
No one really thought it was great. It's like a 6 out of 10 game. It's not anything special. No. This is where it gets interesting though, and I always see this game in game shops and go, that price can't be right. Yeah, it is. The Xbox version and the PS2 version are both around the $30 to $40 mark.
Holy shit.
These are $30 to $40 games complete. And when I say prices, I usually going by the complete price unless I say otherwise. So complete meaning case, disc, manual. Yeah. It's different for carts, obviously. $30 to $40 for a fucking meh Futurama game.
Licensed,
why?
Platforming game.
Okay, so I have a couple theories as to why the game is rare. Okay, firstly, just to give the facts, it's a mid-cycle game. It's 2003, PS2, I would say roughly went around to the 2009-ish mark. So actually, it's not even really mid-cycle. It's really early on in the life cycle.
It's fairly early, I would say.
Early system game. It was published. It wasn't developed. It was published by the notorious Fox Interactive Studios.
Fox Interactive?
Fox Interactive. Now, this is part of my theory as to why it may be valuable. Now, for the most part, Fox Interactive makes terrible games.
What other games have they made?
The Tick for SNES. They also did the fucking horrendous PlayStation 1 Independence Day, which is awful. They do shit games for the most part. However, in the 6th generation, so we're talking Xbox, GameCube, PS2, they had a few hidden gems.
Really?
And they kept their value, including Alien vs. Predator Extinction.
Awesome.
Which is an RTS, and that one's worth about $20-$30. That kept its value.
Oh.
And they also did X-Files Resist or Serve.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Which is a hidden gem for PS2 survival horror guys.
Yeah.
So, and both those games kept their value decently. So there is some, you could argue that it's holding its value somewhat because of the fact that the 6th generation Fox Interactive games held their value decently. Even though it's not as good as those other two games I just mentioned, Alien vs. Predator, Extinction, and X-Files Resist or Serve, it's still more valuable by about $10 to $20 because X-Files Resist or Serve is like a $20 game.
Yeah.
It's odd that it is that, but one thing I think may be causing it. So even though the game was being developed before the series was over, the game wasn't released until the last episode of season 4. Ooh. AKA when the show was first canceled.
So yeah, the cancellation had something to do with it.
So Futurama gets canceled and then this game comes out. This is where it gets interesting. The footage in the game, because they actually did animated cutscenes, got the original voice actors, is considered a lost episode to the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the footage in the game is considered basically a bonus episode of the show that's only in the game.
Well, yeah, so that everyone that's a Futurama fan would want to run out and try to get a copy of it.
And it's not piddly shit. It's 28 minutes of new animation. There wasn't in anything else. More than a full episode. Yeah, more than a full episode's only 24 minutes with commercials. Side note, that is also the case for The Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Sega CD. There's new animation in that game, and it's also called The Lost Episode because the animation and the
They actually
footage,
put new.
they did new animation for the Sega CD Batman and Robin game.
Is that like
Which I have. I'm just gonna grab it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's very similar to the Futurama game, that they have just animated cutscenes in between the levels. Fox Interactive 6th Generation, which we know those games have held their value decently. And then we've got the fact that it has a lost episode in it that you can only get it, I believe, with the later complete series box set. They did add it.
Oh, they added.
They
it?
actually added
That
the
would drop
animation,
the value,
so that
but-
technically drops the
yeah.
value. Yeah, so they did later on add it. I think it's just fan driven. That's kind of driven this up. Like, there's a couple. Like, we're just speculating. Like, we don't
Yeah.
officially know. So currently, it's selling for about $30 to $40 on both. My prediction, I think we're gonna see that drop a bit. I don't think it's going to go up in value. I think it's going to go down to about the $20 to $30 range.
It doesn't really seem like.
It doesn't seem like there's enough of a hook for it to be like, this is going to be a super rare game.
Once you told me that they took the
Re-released
footage and
the footage,
re-released
yeah.
it, all you're left with is a shitty game.
A shitty
I think
Futurama game with some cool animation.
I think the appeal to it came from the fact that it's an oddball Futurama game, but also that it has practically a whole episode worth of footage.
So you're almost buying an episode of the show.
I personally wouldn't bite on something like this. I'd probably like.
I have no interest in myself.
I'd maybe like pick it up if I found it for super cheap, but
Now, this is one of those things when prediction becomes like real guesswork. I think it's going to be like a $20, $30 game. It's going to be decently rare, and it's an interesting tidbit. It could be another Surprise at Dinosaur Peak.
I don't know about that. I don't.
Well, we're talking 30 years. There are super rare licensed games that are worth a fortune. That could end up being one. I really don't know. Current rarity level on this, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's pretty... I find this often used in stores.
Yeah.
And I think it just sits on the shelf because no one wants to dish out the money for it.
Yeah, it seems to be in the $50 range on eBay.
On eBay,
And it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't
Between the two, I think they're pretty comparable. Either the Xbox or the PlayStation 2 version. I think they're both just as rare.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I got... This is an interesting one. And I've seen this in the wild. And the first time I saw it, I thought, that can't be fucking right. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis.
I've seen this too.
This is for the Xbox and the PlayStation 2. Again, both 2003 release games. Studio that developed it was Blue Tongue Entertainment. Ever heard of them?
No, I never heard of them.
Yeah, fuck me neither. So a bit of background on the game. It's a simulation game where you actually manage the Jurassic Park attraction from the movies.
That's awesome. I think there's a couple games like this though, isn't there? I thought there was the Sega CD Jurassic Park game had you wandering around.
That's not not a simulation game. That's
like a mystery then?
That's a point and click adventure.
Oh, okay.
That's like Telltale. So think of it as it's Roller Coaster Tycoon meets Jurassic Park.
That's awesome.
That's
that
what it
sounds
is.
Amazing.
That's what it is. To quote the game, the main point of the game is to recreate Jurassic Park, building a 5-star theme park with dinosaurs and turning John Hammond's dream into a reality. The game received very mixed reviews and meh reviews. So for the most part, it only got like 6 and 7s out of 10. It is now one of the rarest Xbox and PlayStation 2 games.
It's actually though.
It's
Like,
actually
I gotta
one
check
of
that.
the rare. He doesn't believe me. It's one
I
of
don't
the
believe
rarest PlayStation 2. If you go to the list, go to VGPC, and when I go for prices, by the way, just a side note, I use VGPC, Video Game Price Chart. I trust it. It gives you relevant data that you're looking for, and it's an amalgamation of Amazon, eBay, and I think there's GameStop on there as well, and it amalgamates the prices. It's actually one of the rarest PlayStation 2 games as of right now.
Holy shit!
And we're
I
talking
didn't-
up there
I
with
did not
Rule of
know.
Rose.
Wow.
If you
That's
look at
crazy.
I know it shocked me too. That's why this is surprising games, or you wouldn't think that it would be rare. A fucking Jurassic Park game is one of the rarest PS2. I think for Xbox, it actually is the rarest individual game right now in terms of value and
shit.
like. Because when I say rarity, I guess I should point out, I mean value rarity, like the cost. If you go to lists of like the rarest, most expensive games, it's in the top 10 for PS2. For Xbox, I think it's the number 1, other than Steel Battalion, which I'm not going to count Steel Battalion because you have that's a controller
That's the
set.
whole huge
So that's an entire
controller,
set. I'm
yeah.
talking individual release games. Current value, the PlayStation version selling for about 50 to 70 complete. The Xbox version is selling for a fucking astounding $70 to $100 complete.
That's crazy. Well, I'm reading here that there's a PC version too.
Yes, I'll get to that. I have a note on the PC version. There is, but when I'm talking about,
so you could just play it on PC, or just,
and the PC version, from what I understand, is not very rare either.
Well, I mean, you could
also
just torrent
download
it.
Yeah,
you could torrent the PC version, or I mean, you could emulate the PS2 version or whatever. Yeah. But this is like a multi-platform game. This is PC, Xbox, and PS2, and yet it's one of the rarest games.
Yeah, and yet it's one of the rarest.
On both systems?
Yeah, on both systems. That's also what's rare.
That's
usually when it
impressive.
comes to multi-system, the game is only rare on one of the systems. Like, for example, Code Veronica X is a good example.
Yeah.
The GameCube version's $50 game. The Xbox version's like a fucking $15, maybe a $10.
The Dreamcast version?
And the Dreamcast version's only a $15 game too.
Yeah.
Only the GameCube port X is the rare one. Why might it be rare? I have a few, just to give you some... Okay, why might it be rare?
Some speculation here.
Okay. Again, we're early cycle game. So 2003, we're not late into the cycle for Xbox or PS2. It was published by Universal Interactive, who was later bought by Vivendi Games, and Konami.
Konami bought them?
It was published by Universal Interactive and Konami. What did Universal Interactive do? I didn't know, and I had to look this up. They published and distributed the Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro the Dragon games. If you look on them, look at the Spyro the Dragon case, and you'll see Universal logo on it. Universal Interactive. To quote VGPC, Video Game Price Chart, because they did a write-up about this, the game is very uncommon, but the exact reason for its limited availability is unknown. Jurassic Park received mediocre reviews, but its rarity makes it expensive.
Is there some man sitting on like a mountain of copies of...
that personally withheld
just
like to rig the system? Just a side note on the game, one other thing I found was the PC version of the game is actually really popular among fans. They do things like take the scenery and the dino models, like the dinosaur models, and make them so that they're either accurate to the movie or accurate to the novel.
Oh,
like they've gotten to that level.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, next up I got, and again, another one that surprised me, Earthworm Jim Special Edition for the Sega CD.
Oh, awesome.
Earthworm Jim Special Edition for the Sega CD. So it was released on the Sega CD way back in 1994. To give you some backstory on the Special Edition. The Special Edition was released for the Sega Genesis add-on Sega CD, so it's only on the Sega CD. So there is no Earthworm Jim Special Edition on the Genesis. It was straight for the Sega CD. It's based on the Genesis version, so it contains all the same levels, as well as extended sections to certain levels. So they extended the Genesis level, so it's all the same levels, but they're extended, and they added a completely new level called Big Broody. As well, they remixed all the audio with high CD quality audio that the Sega CD was known for, and they added 1,000 more frames of in-game animation, and they actually put that on as a selling feature on the back of the case.
Yeah.
I actually have this game, coincidentally. I had no idea this had jumped in value. I just coincidentally stumbled upon this while looking at Sega CD games, and I went, how could this be so high on the list for rarity? Because this was a very common game for quite a while.
I grew up playing Earthworm Jim on PC. I don't know.
I grew up playing it on SNES. I had it for the SNES.
I played it all the time when I was a kid. I almost beat it. I could never beat Slug for a Butt. One
other odd thing about this version is it contains alternate endings for the easy and hard difficulty. Now, being a huge geek that I am and nerd loser, I actually beat this game on both normal and hard.
That's awesome.
And that was very time consuming, and I can tell you without a doubt the hard ending in the Sega CD version is fucking hilarious and awesome, and I do recommend trying to get that.
So I actually played the Special Edition Windows 95 version as a kid. We just checked it.
Yeah.
And I actually remember the special level, and I remember playing that as a kid, Big Broody. But still, this would be the only console, like old school console release.
No, console release as a whole for that version.
Oh, okay.
Wait, yeah, I'm coming up to that.
Okay.
Currently, the game sits at a value of about $80 to $100 complete.
That's crazy.
This right here, $80 to $100.
This is another one of those
That
games.
surprised me. Like, that's surprising.
Another game that's on Super Nintendo, Genesis, Windows 95,
On everything.
PC, Sega CD.
Game Boy. I had the Game Boy port. Earthworm Jim is on everything, and none of them are particularly valuable. Okay, why is it rare? This is my personal opinion on why I think it's rare. In 2010, they just came out with an HD re-release of Earthworm Jim.
Oh,
and
cool.
people were shitting their pants about this, being like, oh my god, Earthworm Jim, we're gonna get to play in high definition. Then it came out.
I never played the HD one.
Me neither. I skipped it as well because I had this version. I didn't really care. The HD version did not include the big broody level. They excluded it from the version. So that level is only present in the special edition version of the game.
Or the Windows 95.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is the special edition.
Which is
the special edition. The HD re-release was just called like Earthworm Jim HD. But the point is, it wasn't the special edition of the game. This skyrocketed after the HD price came out because for the longest time, this was harder to find. But it was honestly like, if you could find it, a $30 game.
That's crazy.
It was, and we're talking a couple years ago. This was not an expensive game by any means. It's a fucking Sega CD game. So just right off the bat, that adds a bit of rarity to it. How often do you see Sega CD anything?
Are really good
anywhere?
Sega,
and good, and if you do, it's
a
Star Wars Arcade or something.
There's a small amount of incredibly good Sega CD games.
Yeah, and how often do you see them? Almost never.
Not often.
Yeah, almost never. It's one of the best ports of the game available.
Yeah, I would
hands
say
down one of the best ports of Earthworm Jim. It looks great. The audio's fucking incredible. Has alternate endings. It has fucking the extra level, which isn't a great level, but it's there, and it's not in the HD version, so the HD version kind of chinsed out. It will never get re-released. Not this version. Not gonna happen.
Now that they've kind of messed up on the HD version and not like released all the content that they had available to them, I don't know if we're gonna see another. After they've done the HD version, I think that's it. Yeah. For a while. I don't know if we can expect,
we're not going to see an HD re-release. It's not going to happen.
Do you think they'd have like some sort of like DLC thing to patch to patch the HD version with the new level?
The only port of this I can see happening is they'll come up with a new Earthworm Jim game, God willing, for the PS3 or PS4. And
Earthworm Jim 3, where is it?
Yeah, make it happen. Somebody buy the rights to this, please, and continue it. And then what I could see happening is, from that, they'll make as an in-game bonus, you can unlock Earthworm Jim Special Edition. Yeah. That I can see happening. Yeah. Like they did that with Mortal Kombat. A lot of the PS2 ports, you can unlock the original arcade games. Yeah. So they did that. It's on a rare system, and it's a rare port of a super popular game, and it's the best version available. This price is not going down. No. This is just going up. Okay, this next one is one I actually have known about for a while, but I'm yet to be able to take advantage of it because I never find this fucking game. Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition.
Oh, yeah.
For the Xbox 360.
You were telling me a little bit about this.
This is a very interesting story. So, Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition was released on the Xbox 360. It's exclusive to the 360 in 2007. The original Marvel Ultimate Alliance game was released in 2006. That game was released on multi-platforms. It was on PS2, it was on Wii, like everything got a fucking, all the 6th gen and 7th gen got a release of that game, I believe. We're talking about the first game, not the second one.
Okay.
Then, in 2007, Activision released 8 additional downloadable characters on the Xbox 360. Only on the Xbox 360 in the Xbox Live Marketplace.
Wait, so there's 8 characters only released for the 360?
Only released for the 360.
How could they do that? They just skimped out on the PS3?
Yeah, they skipped the PS3 and they skipped the Wii and they skipped other versions. So they released it as 2 packs that you could download. There was the Hero Pack, which gave you Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Hawkeye, and the Hulk. Why the fucking Hulk wasn't playable right off the bat is criminal, but whatever. Yeah. Then there was the Villain Pack. So you had to download, you didn't download it as one, there was 2 separate packs. More money, obviously. The Villain Pack gave you Magneto, Sabretooth, Venom, and Doctor Doom.
Okay.
Which
Venom.
all of them seem like they should have been in the game right off the bat. Those are all big name fucking characters. So 2006, we have the original game. Then 07, Activision releases the DLC characters on Xbox Live. It was April 2007. Then the gold version of the game comes out, and all it was it says Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition. It says gold. The cover is no different. It just says Gold Edition on it. What is different? The Gold Edition comes out in May, so it comes out the following month in 2007, and it includes the game with all the DLC characters. So it included all of them.
So this is everything on disc.
Everything is on disc. So you don't have to do the DLC. So think of it like a Game of the Year edition that includes all the DLC.
Yeah.
Which they do. It's more standard now. It's become standard practice. Then in September of the same year, the Platinum Hits version comes out. And the Platinum Hits version, again, just like the Gold Edition, included all of the DLC characters, as well as a bonus DVD, which I don't know what it was, but I'm assuming it's some bullshit like making of the game, or some stupid... Usually the bonus DVDs are shit on video games. I'd rather have a soundtrack CD, personally. Or fucking, I don't know, something else.
Depends on what it is, but...
Both the Gold version and the Platinum Hits version were... nothing special about them. They were very standard games. They were just whatever. They were common games. They were like $20. They were very common, easy to find. This is where the story takes a twist. In 2009, the DLC packs, which again gave you the 8 extra characters only on Xbox Live, were removed from the Xbox Live marketplace.
Oh no.
So we've got 2006, the game comes out. 2007, the DLC characters come out. Then a month later, they come out with the gold version that includes the characters. Then in September, we get another version that includes the characters with a bit more content. Then 2 years later, characters are removed from the online marketplace. So you get where this is going.
Yeah, so the only place you're going to be able to get those characters is...
the Gold Edition or the Platinum Edition. The only way to get those two characters. The Gold Edition or the Platinum Edition. The Xbox 360 version of Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition right now sells for $60 plus complete. The Platinum Hits version, the version that no one wants of any game, the greatest hits the ugly label version, is $70 to $100 complete right now. $70 to $100 fucking dollars complete.
This is one of the few times I've ever heard you telling me this of the greatest hits version being more valuable.
And quite a bit so. Not a little bit. Because like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the first game is like a, I don't know, $15 game? $10?
It's nothing, yeah.
It's nothing.
I've played it.
It was released on everything. Great game, but it's on every system. Have you ever heard, can you think of one other one where the greatest hits or the Platinum Hits version or the whatever, greatest choice, player's choice, is the more expensive version?
People usually always want like
black
label, just
they don't want
plain
label, or
like
yellow,
original
or
release.
Red.
That's what I
platinum. Yeah, they're always. I never want them because it throws off the spines. It just like every time I get a greatest hits, I'm always like, ah.
Usually they look kind of ugly.
They look kind of ugly because they add. The problem is they changed the color scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a side note, because you were asking about, or you were said that it's outrageous they skipped the Wii and the PS3 for the DLC characters. The PSP version has 3 exclusive characters as well. Okay. Which are Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, and Ronin. So Hawkeye's not the exclusive. So Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and Ronin are the 3 exclusives of the PSP. The Game Boy Advance version also had 3 exclusives.
There's a Game Boy Advance version?
There's a Game Boy Advance version, and
why wouldn't it be DS?
Good question. Game Boy Advance version includes Jean Grey, Namor, and Vision. So clearly both the PSP and the Game Boy Advance versions, the exclusive characters aren't that great. Like Black Widow, Namor, who the fuck cares? I'm sorry, but like compared to Magneto, Hulk, Doctor Doom, Venom, like I'm just making a point of those DLC characters don't really care. And the value on those ones, like the PSP game is not, it's like maybe a $10, $15 game, and the Game Boy Advance version's like a $10 card. So they didn't go rare, even though they have exclusive characters. I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah.
I can't ever see it getting re-released, so I think the value is going to stay up. I don't think they're going to re-release this version. Like
if they do an
I don't see it happening.
Alliance 4 or something, or 3
and include Ultimate Alliance Special Edition of 1. That's what I mean. It's too weird. I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't see Ultimate Alliance being a downloadable game. I just don't see it happen. I could be wrong. They could come up with an ultimate version of the game that has every character, including the Game Boy Advance and the PSP.
An ultimate version of Ultimate Alliance.
An ultimate version of Ultimate Alliance. Yeah, it could end up happening. Now, we just discovered this the other day, talking to an employee at EB Games. We didn't know about this.
I just did a little bit of searching online.
Something similar actually just happened with Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
This is, I'm reading in March of this year. There's already
14.
talks with Marvel trying to remove a lot of their content off off of Xbox Live, removing content off PSN, and sort of taking a step back and looking at what they want to do with their video game franchises.
That's interesting. So what ended up happening as a result of Marvel doing this is they pulled all the DLC characters for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So you can't download the extended roster of Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The only way to play the entire full roster with Ghost Rider and they added a fucking ton of them. Phoenix Wright, I believe, is in the extended version as well. The only way to play as those characters is to get the ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which was the second version of the game. I actually coincidentally have both because I'm a big loser and I have to have every version of every fighting game. But now, talking about games that are going to shoot up in value, if Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom if Ultimate, it's hard to say it. I keep fucking the names because Marvel is in every fucking title. If Ultimate's in both of the titles, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom,
Ultimate
3,
Marvel,
Ultimate, and Marvel and Marvel Multimate. Could fucking fuck all that shit. Can we just get simple fucking titles? If Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition and fucking Platinum Hits can shoot up to that value, there's no reason Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 isn't gonna do the same fucking spike.
There's no reason not to, say, well, if that happened to this game, then it most likely will happen to this game. I don't know.
Going back to the Xbox 360 for a moment, current rarity level, I'm gonna rate this as 7 out of 9. I never have seen this
7
used.
out of 9. You said it so genuinely. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9.
I never see the gold. I've never once seen the gold edition or the platinum hits version of Marvel Ultimate Alliance once used. Not once.
Never seen it.
Never seen it in the stores. I've never found it in the wild. You can find it online, but the prices are high. So, I mean, it can be gotten, but only online, basically. And now here comes the curveball. Because next up, I got something that's surprisingly rare, but not a video game per se. So this is kind of a cheat. The Action Replay series.
I have personal experience with the Action Replay devices.
The Action Replay series, in case you don't know what they are, they've been around all the way back to the Commodore 64.
No.
Yep, all the way back to the Commodore 64. So this company's been around forever, Action Replay. Up until the latest one was for the Nintendo Wii. They're cheat devices, essentially is what they are. They're cheat devices, so they're like Game Sharks or Game Genies.
Like
they're
Game
cheat.
Shark.
Yeah, they're
Game
cheat
Genie,
devices that work by modifying the game code itself for the video game you're playing.
Oh.
The actual company that makes them is called Daytel. So they've been around since, I'm assuming, early 80s. Like, we're talking, like, Commodore 64, VIC-20 era times. In the early versions, it was a cart or some sort of thing that manipulated, that plugged into the system. But what I'm talking about is I'm talking more 6th generation. So I'm talking more PS2, GameCube, Xbox. And for those versions, it was a disc. However, sometimes it included a memory card. The disc had the actual codes on them, while the memory card was so that you could update it and add more codes.
Yeah.
So the disc would then act as like a boot disc, which then would boot into the sub-menu, and then you could use the card and pump more. Well, you actually own it.
Yeah, I actually, I still own the Action Replay for GameCube. You boot the game on the little GameCube disc with the Action Replay memory card in the slot 2 of the memory card.
Okay.
And that's how it boots up. And all the codes and all the files are saved on the memory card, and then the disc boots it. So you boot into the code menu, you can input your own codes, and you can add new codes. And it already comes preloaded with like a huge list of like a bunch of different cheats and like infinite lives and all that stuff. So you load the codes for the proper game that you want to play, open the tray, take the disc out, put the game disc in, close the tray, and either it just starts or you hit reset, and then you've booted the game with the codes loaded up.
I wonder how they work without the memory card, because I've been told you can do it without the memory card. And
I don't know.
This is interesting. So. Well, you can buy the actual just Action Replay is called just Action Replay, and that's just the disc itself. You can buy them by themselves. Action Replay that comes with the memory card is called Action Replay Max. It's their top end series. They give you the memory card. The idea was that every time a new set of games came out that would need new codes, obviously, you'd have to buy the latest firmware, so the newest disc. But if you had the memory card, you could, I don't know how, but you could somehow get onto the internet and download new codes, put them onto your memory card, and then you could just keep updating it that way, so you could update it yourself. I've got written the 4 rarest that I could find.
Okay.
The Game Boy Advance Action Replay is worth about $60-$70.
Holy shit.
Now, obviously, there's no disc
cart
for it. It's just a cart. It's just a cart that goes into the Game Boy Advance slot, similar to a Game Shark. So it functions differently, so they don't always function the same. The 6th generation ones, which is the ones that I was most surprised by, the ones that seem to be keeping their value and jumping and skyrocketing price, the Xbox, $50 to $70 for the max versions that comes with the memory card.
For the disc and memory card.
For disc and memory card. All of these are disc and memory cards besides the Game Boy Advance. The PS2, it's on the cheaper end, but still $20 to $40.
Wow, that would be a bit more common, I think, just because PS2
is more common, yeah. The rare of the rare, though, which is the one you have, Action Max GameCube, $80 to $100 for disc and memory card. I'm not kidding.
That's crazy.
I couldn't believe it either. I've seen them a lot, and I always just ignored them because I thought, who cares? I don't know. It was a gimmick for a while. I'm just not interested.
I saw them back in the day when you could still find GameCube games on shelf and stuff. You could find them in like Zellers and places like that
Walmart,
that were selling
hanging up, because a lot of them came in clamshell packaging that were hanging up in the accessories section. Some of them do have tins. The packaging is completely different on all of them. Like, I've seen tin versions. Like, I think the Action Max version for the PS2 has a metal tin. Why it's rare, why it's valuable, pretty obvious. It's a niche product, and it's low quantities.
Hard to find, and you can do a bunch of cool codes and glitches and stuff.
It's not a mass production product, though. It's not. It's not like a third-party controller. I never saw one in like an EB Games or anything. I think, for the most part, they were in like Walmart, Zellers. Like it was marketed as a general audience kind of thing. It went to like, you know, standard.
Well, you had to look a bit harder to find it because it's not really. It's in that gray area.
It's in that really gray area of gimmick instead of necessary. And a game shop would stock like memory cards, third-party controllers, rumble packs.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, it's also a gray area legally too, with like it's a cheat device.
Exactly.
It's not really licensed for the system, so
certain versions. I had a lot of trouble trying to nail down values on these. Certain versions, from what I can tell, which are the latest releases, so like let's say the last versions, like version 1.13 for the GameCube or whatever it is, are super rare compared to the early versions. So you might get one and you find out it's only worth like $5 because it's the first version and doesn't have a lot of games of the library. Another point to be made is the Game Shark and the Game Genie, which I'm sure everyone fucking had. I had a Game Shark. I didn't have a Game Genie, but I had a Game Shark.
I didn't have the Game Shark for the
N64.
I think it was N64 and PlayStation.
Yeah, I think and there was also Dreamcast. I have the Dreamcast.
I never had the Game Shark. I had the Game Genie on Super Nintendo, where you had to plug the.
You had it for Super Nintendo. I've never even seen that version.
And there's the Nintendo one. Too.
Yeah, and I think there's a Genesis version as well. The point I wanted to make was those devices, Game Sharks, Game Genies, have not jumped in value near what we're seeing for Action Replay. And I have a theory of why that is. When it was a cart, and it was as simple as put the cart in, then put your actual game on top, I think it was more practical.
Yeah.
It worked way easier. It was much more simple. Kids could understand, wrap their heads around that. When you start getting into code files and discs, boot discs and memory cards, A, it became more complicated, and B, I think the fad had already worn out by that point. Like I think so. I think Game Sharks, that kind of thing, was more of a fad of, I would say, the 80s and 90s. Cheat codes. Code books don't exist anymore. Like I feel like that was an 80s, 90s fad.
I think
that
there's
kind of died off. Because the other thing is, now with the internet, it's so easy to look up ridiculous cheats that the programmers have already put in the game.
That's true.
So what I'm saying is that makes sense that the 6th generation Xbox, PS2, GameCube are very rare because they probably sold like shit. Because I don't know anyone that had one of these things and bought it fucking new.
Yeah.
I would buy it as a gimmick if it was like $5 in a bargain bin. I wouldn't buy it new. I don't know anyone that ever did. It's such a gimmick thing of the. It's a byproduct of an old time. Like
I agree with the whole cheat cart thing where you had the Game Genie and the Game Shark was much more of a 90s thing.
Absolutely.
And then you put in a short code for like infinite lives or like you could infinite continues or
which most games have
health.
Programmed in already.
Yeah.
So that's the end for this episode of what we had. This is only the beginning. We only scratched the surface. There's tons more that I can think of just right at the top of my head.
There's tons more stuff we can talk about if you guys are interested, or if there's other games and other rare games. Just leave a comment.
Please comment. Please comment. Let us know other games that you can think of that we missed, or other games you think might fall into this category. And we definitely will be doing more parts to this.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to be adding more games that are surprisingly rare, because there's a couple that are already coming in my head. I gotta get them out of my fucking head. Okay. Hit that subscribe button, please, love us.